see what else was in here that was fun. That's what I was doing the other night. Is I was
wireless shit show, wireless shit show. La, 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 la.
Unmute. Hey, everybody!
What's up?
We made it! Oh my goodness! Survived! Wait, don't you know what Kismet song?
Do I? Oh no, that's a different one. You know, last episode when I ran that, we finally got a YouTube copyright strike.
On YouTube, not on Twitch
Yes.
though. We're still
Not
golden
on
on Twitch. I haven't gotten any on there.
No, not there. So, achievement unlocked, I guess.
Yes.
They're like, you can't monetize this video. I'm like, yeah, I have no intentions of monetizing on this video. It's just this. No, I did not forget what the fuck would happen because it would be too easy today because we're shifting schedules. Look, man. Anyway, quick catching up. The reason why we're late is because somebody forgot that we had a stream today.
Time zones are hard.
Apparently scheduling is hard too. I was like fucking worried that where the fuck is he? He's usually and then it started pinging him and it's like no ping. I'm like, I'm seriously starting to think.
You know what you didn't do? Your number one golden rule. Send me a DM on Twitter. I would have got that on my Apple Watch.
Okay. Fair enough. There is that.
I just want to apologize, everyone. Sorry for being late. I had some stuff come up. This day's been madness, but here we are. We're here. We're ready to crush it. And yeah, so how's your week been, buddy?
It's good. I played in the Smooth Constellation CTF, RFCTF last weekend with What the Freak.
Me.
So, and don't want to brag, but I placed third. I cracked whip and double PA.
Ooh. I'm pretty jealous of that, actually.
So, I'm getting better at it. So, you are going to fucking suffer when we go head to head.
I can't wait.
And yes, and some people are already noticing, but today we have a guest. We have a very special guest.
A super special guest.
Yes, some people might not know who he is, but know what he is. I don't know if that comes out. It's Dragon, the legend, the myth,
the one, the only, the man who never sleeps, who's constantly optimizing.
Yes, Milkman, but even among the super cool guests we had so far, Dragon is like finding a unicorn in the wild world of the internet. So,
you're not wrong.
You know, Dragon, or should I call you by what people know you by? Kismet
Wireless.
Yes, Kismet Wireless. You know the tool that we all love for our wardriving? That's the dude. That's the unicorn. That's the unicorn who codes that shit. Yo, man, I want to hear more reactions from the crowd there. Come on, everybody in the chat. Chats should be like, ooh.
Also, chat, if you take a look at the emotes, there's a new tier 1 emote. So if everyone wants to do that new super special emote, shout out to DJ Jackalope and Bon for doing the art for it.
Yes. Let me just, So, I mean, it's a super rare occasion. We get to hang out with the three of us, usually around ShmooCon. ShmooCon got postponed. Yet we get to hang out virtually, and you have a new release out. So
brand new release.
I want to spend most of today talking about that, but before we go into that, we need to get to know you. Some people need to get to know you even more. So here we go. As always, 10 rapid questions with Dragon or Kismet Wireless. What's your favorite word?
I immediately thought of the asshole response to anti-disestablishmentarianism, but is Wi-Fi a word? I don't think
Wi-Fi is a word here. What turns you on?
Packets.
Yeah,
What?
one of us.
One of us. What sound or noise do you love?
I honestly just work in quiet most of the time.
Right. So sound of silence.
There you go.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck that.
Vim or Emacs?
Vim.
Yeah, Team Vim.
I have a story about why.
We'll get to that.
Hold that story.
Hold that story. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Sure.
Okay. What are you not very good at?
Java and Perl and Ruby.
Is anyone ever good at Perl?
Yeah, I know, right?
Ruby. Well, Ruby people are good at Ruby, but Java, let's be honest.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I was almost an English major.
Oh, wow.
So
You know, that explains a lot. We'll get into that.
I know. Yeah, we'll get to that. Tell me something that's true about you that almost nobody believes. that you can talk about in public, probably.
I don't know that I talk to enough people that often to have things people wouldn't believe.
Exactly. You are a unicorn. You are a true unicorn. If heaven exists, what would you like God to say when you arrive at the gate?
Good job.
Yeah, nice. And that, my friend, is 10 questions. Thank you. You had a story about Vim?
Yeah, let's jump right into it.
That's where we dive into after all this questions.
This story's going to date me very badly. So I learned Vim because my modem wasn't fast enough to keep up with the arrow keys sending multiple characters between timeouts. So if you hit an arrow key on a terminal, it sends, an escape code that's like 3 characters, and it would time out on my crap-ass 1200 modem before it could connect through. And I was like, and I think I was using Emacs at the time. It was so long ago. It was like, I can't move around this editor. And then I learned that Vim could use HJKL, and I went, hey, that's the editor for me.
Yeah, well, sadly, we both understand where that comes from. And we're like, oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, mine doesn't even date me that far. I just had really shitty servers, and it was just easier to use Vim.
Yep.
Right. All right. So, a lot of people, have used your tools over the years, but I think it's important that before we dive into the new release, we go back in history for a minute. Why is the tool called Kismet?
Because NetStumbler had just come out, and I think I put Stumble into a thesaurus online and just kept clicking words until I found one that wasn't used for another open source project.
Oh, so high fidelity or John Cusack had nothing to do with it.
No, it didn't. I hadn't seen it at that point. I don't think.
How old is Kismet actually?
I think it came out early January 2002.
Nice.
Wow.
20 years ago.
20.
So if somebody who was born at that age could be in our crowd today, does that make you feel old?
Yep.
That I'm sure some of the users are younger than the project.
Oh, I guarantee you that. But that's been true for a while. Wow, I just realized I might have missed the 20th anniversary of it with the release. I should have tried to get this done a little earlier.
No, I mean, technically it's still the 20th. This year will count as the 20th release. Last year was 25 for Wiggle, 20 years for Kismet. I think we're in a good Wi-Fi world right now.
Yeah.
So how did it come to life? I mean, what made you think about, I'm going to write a thing that make me look at packets.
So I think the first revision of Air Snort had just come out, and it worked with the Prism cards, and it didn't display SSIDs or anything like that. So I was hacking on that to get it to dump network names, and then played around with that some more. They weren't interested in the patches because I think it was changing teams at the time. And then I got a Cisco card that had a completely different packet format from the Prism card, and I went, okay, fine. I'm going to make something that works with multiple formats. And that just sort of evolved into it from there. If the Prism drivers and the Cisco drivers had used the same packet format, it might not have really come about at the time.
Nice.
And then for a good while, you could log locations by writing down where you were.
Like on paper?
Yeah, well, or like as a note with the network. But yeah, like I had like a little PHP web page self-hosted on the laptop that would let me like post a photo from a digital camera and
nice
and write down where it was at the time, because I couldn't afford a GPS.
Yeah, well, we have come a long way.
That was a real problem.
A good year. I think it was a good year and a half before I could afford a GPS and the data cable for it. When that was a thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, GPSs were a couple $100, I think, at the time for like one of the Garmin Yellow.
Well, and then too, you had to use them in Windows. Like there wasn't a lot of support too. Like it was, because I wanted to get one. I tried to justify getting one. I was doing engineering work and walking across like where fiber optic lines were because I wanted to map those. And I'm like, the easiest way to do this would be just like use geocoding with a GPS, and so I could just walk and record where I'm at, right? And it was too much money. It would have been like $400 total to do it. Now it's like $39 for a GPS.
I mean, 60 for a good one.
Yeah, 60
it's 30 to 60 for a great GPS. It's 15 for a crap one.
I
know, we have come a long ways.
So that's the that's how the old Kismet got around, right? And then when did this new version or the new web-enabled version came about?
I think that mostly came about because I kind of stopped doing much active development for a couple of years when I was in a couple of high-stress jobs doing a lot of Android work instead. And when I went back to it, nothing like a couple of years of distance to make nothing sacred anymore. So there's a lot of things that have sort of, stagnated. There were a lot of things that I hadn't wanted to mess with at the time because, I spent all this time writing this. Why do I want to get rid of it? Mm-hmm. And a lot of computers are a lot better than they were in 2001, 2002. So a lot of decisions that made sense then didn't really make sense now. So can burn a little more CPU to get a better interface.
Nice. I mean, we've come a long way from like laptops running Windows to single motherboards running Linux, or even routers running Kismet right now. So, and we now have a R2 release for 2022, right?
Yep.
Minor update for the last in the last couple.
The R2 is a real small one. The January update in general is the big deal.
So, what's new in the new update?
Mostly optimizations. Way less RAM, way less CPU needed. Overall in general, and then there's a war driving specific overlay that is mainly for if you're collecting data for Wiggle. If you want to just, if that's your focus rather than collecting, other devices and packets and that sort of thing, if you're just collecting APs for Wiggle, a lot of people want to use really small, crappy hardware, and then wonder why it doesn't have enough I/O speed to write all the packets and whatnot when they're going through the middle of the city.
I feel seen.
You are not. You are not the worst offender. You are by no means the worst offender.
And see, this is why I like to throw hardware at the problem.
Right?
Of course I'll run an i7 and 48 cores and 64 gigs of RAM.
Ironically, an i5 and a Pi 4 now cost about the same because of the chip shortage.
But yeah, so the war driving mode cuts a lot of packets out. It also optimizes channel hopping for detecting APs.
Yeah, I've been playing with it for the last couple of days and couple hours, and been running it pretty constant. It is really awesome for pure war driving stuff. I don't analyze all the packets that I collect, so I don't need all of that. I for a long time I just kind of threw them away, but then I was like, well, maybe I should keep some of it because I don't know, maybe one day I'll sit down and go through it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And but I think the new war driving overlay actually enables a new flexibility that that many of us out there are now enjoying, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully, and it's just a config overlay, so it's easy to customize it as well.
Right.
That's really cool.
If there's a particular features that are turned off in it that you really want, like if you really want to capture handshakes, it's just a config file. You can just copy it to a new name, change that option, and
yeah, I wrote it on the in the Kismet site comp that I have, and it works fine. So I have two identical. Well, I have a couple rigs. As a matter of fact, Mike, Dark Matter, I made a new one.
I heard that that MAC address isn't accurate.
This is not a MAC address if you look carefully. Where is that? There's that. Because it's 6.
One too many.
One too many.
One too many.
But I have the sticker. I have the Kismet sticker right there.
Ooh, that's pretty sexy. Ooh, new build.
I realized one thing when I built this, and this is one of the reasons why I built this.
Yeah.
Is that the antennas are very too close, but there's a reason. It has to fit in my backpack, and this is the closest I can get without them like being touching to each other and whatnot. But
if you're not transmitting, it's not a huge deal. It's not optimal, but it's not.
No, it's
nowhere near as big a deal as if you were transmitting.
No, it's good enough for me. It fits in my backpack. That's the thing. And then I realized that they don't need to be upright, because I was like, wait, it's just an element. There's no reason for them to stick out this way, because that cut it vertically in half. So
yeah, it's very clever. I like it, and I like the Velcro overlay.
Yeah, I have yards of this sailcloth that I bought on sale, but I had no use for it because it's too thick for anything else. But then I was like, well, I can make it look like a emergency equipment from the Coast Guard or something.
Dude, it's pretty damn sexy. And side note, I just got a sewing machine, so ooh. You've inspired me to want to
Hey, no touching antenna stuff in the chats, all right? This is not necessarily PG, but anyway, let's go back to Kismet. What are the most often asked questions that you get where you're like, it's kind of in the docs?
I think a lot of people want to buy the cheapest Wi-Fi adapter, so they get an 8812, and then why is this adapter ass? Well,
I feel like I asked that question at some point.
No,
the thing is, we're continuing to learn how bad that adapter is.
I think the problem is there are so many YouTube clips and blog posts that says that's the best Wi-Fi adapter for Kali.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, no, it's not. But then again, they're so cheap, and then somebody looks at somebody who having 50 some radios on his backpack, go, ooh, I can build that if I buy these cheap ones that are $5 a piece, and put them in this USB hub that is $10. You know.
Yeah.
That was literally me for project number 2, and then figuring out they didn't work, and then spending $35 a piece to get the MediaTek ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're so much better.
Right. But they're getting harder and harder to come by because the market is flooded with the 888 series. You know, it's just like you hit up Amazon, it's like, and then, you know, with what was the site? Not Dev. What's the chipset site that we always used to look up? You throw in an adapter and it will tell you what chipset it was running.
Right, I remember that. I'm also blanking.
WikiDev or something.
Yeah. WikiDev is no longer actively maintained, right? So it's just getting, and then you look up on AliExpress, there's like gazillion Wi-Fi adapters out there. So
right,
and they're all like the same. So, and sometimes the guys selling it don't know what they're selling, so that doesn't really help. Just like
and other times they don't care.
Yeah, you're right.
They're just trying to get the sell.
So Armand says, if you venture into the M2 cards, be careful. Those UFL MF4 connectors are very fragile. He learned that today.
They suck. Hey, so for the newest project, whatever I've named it, the Kraken Light or whatever, they're all those. It's all that. Those mini UFLs.
Ooh, Ark has a good question. What can we do at Wiggle to help replace the best adapter site? Ooh. Well, clearly we need to spread the word of Wiggle out there, because apparently, like I think Noid or somebody, not Spike, I think, tweeted out a question about Wiggle, and like majority answers what is Wiggle. So
side note, note just came in on the signals from friend of the program Kim, who says that WikiDev released their database to the world, so there's lots of sites continuing their work.
Oh, okay. Well,
so maybe Wiggle could be one of those sites,
right? But yeah, I lost my train of thought for a second, so hold on.
Yeah, I'm good at that. I'm good at distracting you. I'm infecting you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. No, it's not about us, right? I love the Kismet scripts to auto wiggle CSV out, super easy to export. Yes.
It also now has direct wiggle CSV logging, so you don't even need.
Can you write two formats? Can you write PCAPs and wiggle CSV?
Yep.
Ooh.
Just do a comma separated. You could do any or all of the logs at once.
Nice, very nice, very nice. What are you? What? I mean, you just came up with a release, so obviously fixing some of the more oopsie stuff is going to be your next couple.
Let's ask the question everyone wants to know. What has Zero asked you to fix?
No. Let's clarify. What did Zero ask you today to fix?
Love you, Zero.
Love you, Zero. Because the running joke is always around Shmukon time. It's like 3 days of like Zero going, hey, Drogorn, I need this fixed. Drogorn is like, fix it. Like, well, it broke this. Fix that. Fix this. And like Shmukon, right before Shmukon, like the Discord just kind of blows up between Zero and Drogorn.
Yeah. Right before Shmukon, when I'm certainly not preparing the Shmukon network, the Wi-Fi for Shmukon, then I'm totally calm and not working on that. Neighbor Brack is asking what my most unexpected adaptation decision was. I've definitely seen it being run in interesting places. Every so often, someone will send me a coin from somewhere and went, "Hey, we used your stuff here." Like, oh, oh, I see.
Do you have PCAPs? PCAPs?
Yeah, did the coin contain PCAPs?
It did not, as far as I know. Steve says running on an S390. I never ran Kismet on S390. I did run early versions of Aircrack. I've got a screenshot somewhere where we had just provisioned a new mainframe at my old job, and I was the only system on it, and just fired up, a web attack on all the cores on it with no other load on it.
It's funny. I think Brian Ballou, I think his answer is to the unexpected authorization was Pentu. Which is kind of either that or I'm reading too much into it. Interesting.
Yeah, I did have someone send me some questions about Kismet once, and then sent me a screenshot of a map. And I looked at it and did a bit of Googling and replied back, "Oh, are you at this laboratory?" And he went, "You're not supposed to know that." And I said, "You shouldn't name your Wi-Fi networks after your project."
That is funny. So, how are you feeling about the new release?
So far pretty good. To only have, to have a release that took that long to get stable, to only have one real oh crap moment with it so far is pretty good. I think it's got I think it's finally solving a lot of some of the longer standing weird little hiccups that would happen now and then.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember earlier when the new version, new web version came out, I would send shit your way and be like, "You just have janky packets." Like, well, that's not okay. Yeah. You got me there. But even compared to those days, even on my janky packet rig, it works much more stabler. And I don't know if stabler is a word. More stable, I guess. And it's awesome. It's been very helpful, and I love it. And it helped me in the ward driving competitions, and I'm sure everybody in the chat, a lot of them, I've been running it. I think I see your net has a question. What is your known biggest rig that ever ran Kismet on?
One of the biggest has got to still be Wi-Fi Cactus.
Yeah, baby!
One trick pony!
for just the number of radios.
Right.
Alftel has told me that they've had a 72 11AX NIC system running. So that's they've got an X12 expander board on Tindy actually. And so that in a Thunderbolt chassis daisy chained.
Jesus.
So I think they had 6 12 interface boxes chained together, plugged into one system.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's almost like
I'm not sure what
heater.
kind of log they had on that, because I'm testing one of their X12 boxes here.
Yeah.
And it will send more packets than a 10K RPM spinning disk can log.
Right. You definitely start running into bottleneck problems. I've thoroughly done those calculations.
I mean,
in other words, I forgot to do those calculations last week and was wondering why I was getting packet drops and wondered what I'd broken in threading. And then you're like, oh shit, my disk can't keep up. Because why am I going to burn SSD cycles on test data?
Well, and here's the question that I've always had for you, and I probably have asked this in the middle nights discussions that we've had. But what happens if your disk isn't fast enough? Is it just going to drop packets, or is it queuing and just stacking on the queue and then it dumps off the queue? Like, what's happening on that process from a pipeline standpoint?
So what's going to happen, at least with the latest? What's going to happen at least with the latest releases? It's going to start backing up until it hits the max packet queue, which is defined in your configs. It defaults to 8192.
And that's RAM, right?
Yeah, and that's all in RAM.
Yeah.
And that's how many packets it has that it hasn't processed yet.
Yeah.
So with the last couple of releases, and especially with this release, it will spawn a thread per processor core that you have for handling packets. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I fired up on a 64 core system here, and it's so many threads.
Now
but yeah, it'll do a thread per core you have, and then each of those threads will steal from the packet queue. And then at some point, they're all going to contend with each other and block down if they're trying to update the same devices.
Yeah.
But
so essentially, it gets to a blocking, and then it's just dumping at that point.
Yeah, if you've gotten to the point where you don't have the CPU to keep up, or you don't have the disk I/O to keep up, and you have a sustained packet rate so high that it overfills that, it's sort of it'll bounce around. If you get a burst of packets, or you hit, if you're channel hopping and hit a channel where someone's doing streaming or something, and get a lot of data that way.
Yeah.
It'll soak that for a little bit, as long as you're not constantly over what your system can handle, it won't actually fall down.
Gotcha.
But it'll start complaining at you. A previous revision, the database logging would figure out that if it had been, a minute before it finished logging, that something was badly wrong. Mm-hmm. But the newer database code that tries to be more optimized will just sort of keep going as well as it can.
Yeah.
And then it'll fill up the packet queue and freak out there.
Gotcha. Interesting. Sounds
but yeah,
like,
so it'll bottleneck on your. Thank you. It'll bottleneck on your CPU and on your disk I/O. If you turn off logging, or if you have an SSD, I've pushed my test system here with that Alphatel 12X card somewhere up around 90,000 packets a second sustained.
Wow. And
it wasn't really running out of CPU.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's going to a 32-core Threadripper. that's going to the box that builds the Kismet Nightlies.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because you live in the middle of nowhere. And you're building one of the most urban tools out there.
Yeah. Until a couple of years ago, the only Wi-Fi networks I could see were mine. But now, some of the neighbors' kids moved back and bought some Unify gear. There.
Right.
Now I can see a few more, but for a while we were the only Wi-Fi that I could see from my house.
Yeah, because I remember early on it was just like, I need some real data, and I'll send you my PCAP. It's like, here's a big dump of Tokyo.
Yep. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes where, if I don't see enterprise networks. I don't have any WPA3 near me. I don't have.
That's not yours.
Yeah.
Nice. I think White Shadow had a question about the GPS satellite information. The old NCursus version would give SATSIMView and SATCAT numbers for each satellite. Any plans for adding those in?
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Nice.
Many things are on that list, unfortunately, but it's on the list.
Right.
There is a written list in a backpack, but it is legitimately on the list.
See, that's the thing that always amazes me about you, is that you always have this list of things that you already planned for coming out, and then you just kind of what's the word I'm looking for, not moan through it, but just kind of go through that list and just like, hey, check out this new thing I did. It's like, I did this week, and I'm like, okay, you are coding way too much productivity. Right.
It varies. It varies week to week.
Right. Well, no. We all appreciate your work, and if you're in the chat watching the stream and haven't sponsored Dragoran over his GitHub, you better.
Yeah, I posted a link a second ago.
Thank you.
You're not welcome on this chat if you haven't.
Hey, it helps fund test gear.
Right? I mean, look, people like you and me and Mike, we all spend the money that we get towards different projects. I bought an RFC standard for Internet of Dongs with the money that people gave me through my buy me a coffee and things like that. So it's not like we're building houses and buying cars with the money. It goes straight back into either hardware, or other things, licensing and stuff. So Armand says thank you for building those nightlies for us. So
no problem. Yeah, so the C++ standard has grown faster than the compilers. I think that's only fair because I hear there's typically about 10 people really on the compiler teams for the advanced new features. Lots of contributions, but for implementing the new language features and whatnot, it's a lot to ask for small teams. But it does mean that if you use some of the newer features like Kismet does, your RAM requirements for compiling blow up.
Right. Arc from Wiggle says one night we'll have a drone swarm beaconing BSSIDs around your neighborhood.
I used to work for an anti-drone company.
So challenge accepted? Is that what I'm hearing?
Is that what you're saying?
But yeah, now that there's a few files in Kismet that take about 2.5 gig of RAM to compile.
Right.
And in the end, it goes down to about 6 meg. But
yeah, right.
Modern C++ and templates really blow up RAM.
So we've talking about the Wi-Fi side of Kismet, but Kismet is not only Wi-Fi now, right? What else can it capture?
Finally grown it out to a couple of other things. So it'll do BTLE capture with some hardware. So an Ubertooth or the TI, a little $15 CC2540s, a couple other chipsets, the Adafruit adapters that use some of the NRF chipsets work. Also, Aaron Berger just contributed in the last year or so a whole bunch of Zigbee and other BTLE decoders. So we've got Zigbee and 802.15.4, ADSB, AMR power meters, so power, electric, water, and gas for some protocols anyway.
Right, and although it's not in the documentation, you can also connect the Geiger counter to it, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
I made a Bluetooth BTLE-enabled Geiger counter out of Mighty Ohm's kit.
Oh my gosh! Why have I not done this?
Started adding sensor capture for that, so you can hit me up. I'll send you the code. It's not quite ready to fully publish. It's a bit.
Because if you run the latest one under data sources, there is Geiger counter, and I know where that came from because me and Dorgon have been chatting about it. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of neat. But I'm pretty sure you're like one of the 5 people in the world running Kismet with a Geiger counter.
Holy shit! I want in on this. My whole
the idea is ultimately to be able to drop.
Monitor.
Yeah, the idea is ultimately to be able to drop, radiation heat maps as you drive around. I made a 3D printed mount that bolts it under the bottom of the truck up in the engine bay.
So that's interesting. I wonder if we can fingerprint areas based off of their radiation profiles.
You probably could,
not, but probably.
Because there's, after the whole Fukushima disaster, there's a site, I think it's called SafeNet.
Yeah, where it's distributed, right?
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, Ark says radioactive Kraken coming. Any plans for
lore? I may or may
lore?
not have some radioactive sources from a previous employment.
I mean, just go on Amazon and order a negative ion health band.
Or just go get some smoke detectors, but make sure they're built before 2018.
Or just hit up Lost on Twitter and ask him about leftovers from his badge days.
Or go to New Mexico and go to any of the gift shops and you can buy Trinitite. Side note,
you can go on Amazon and buy.
Yeah, but those are so small. I bought some Trinitite.
They're big enough.
They're like what, 5 microcuries? Enough to make it click. Okay, pro tip, don't buy which is it? Oh, I just forgot the element. Anyways, it decays within 2 years, and so it's worthless. Starts with an A. It'll come to me. In a minute, I'm going to scream out an element that decays really fast.
Right. I think
you can get legit test cards off Amazon and whatnot in, safe quantities.
Well, because you can have, I think it's up to 10 microcuries in your possession without having to register it.
I got some friends in Pakistan who can source some material.
Oh, really? You realize there's feds in the chat, right? Like legit feds in the chat. And they are obligated under law of the Constitution to report us.
Good thing I'm across the ocean. Come and get me, Fed. No, I'm just kidding. Next thing I hear is going to be a knock on my door. I'm like, you called? No, I think there was a legitimate question. I think LoRa as a protocol has been getting a lot of attention lately.
Yeah.
Is there any plans of integrating LoRa?
Yeah, hopefully. If anybody has PCAPs of it, by the way, let me know. But I've got some capture capable hardware now, thanks to Brian donating some stuff in the Wi-Fi cat. And then I've got some other LoRa gear on order because I don't actually have any LoRa around here to sniff.
Well, I know a guy who's in the stream right now who has some LoRa stuff. We should talk. Yeah, we should.
Afterwards. Oh, and I figured out the element. It's cesium 137. That one decays really fast. And I found the website where I used to buy all of my samples. So if anyone
you're the one who's like, there are feds in the chat.
Yeah, but these are all legal. Like you can use them. Right. Like it's all like no registration required. I was using them for academic purposes, research purposes.
Well, what's the other stream jokes like in GTA?
Oh yeah, radioactive in GTA.
That's how you get radioactive materials in GTA. But yeah, there's a bunch of SDR stuff now, and more coming.
Speaking of SDR, like I don't think we addressed it. One of the other most badass features that you added within the last 2 years, ADSB. That's pretty dope. Not gonna lie, I love the ADSB.
I'm having fun with ADSB.
Yeah, me too. I love being able to just pull it up and be like, oh hey, by the way, here's the airplanes around us.
Right. How do these things come about? Is it usually people like in the Discord going, hey, can I do this, or can you add this, or do you come up with it?
Sometimes people ask for it. Sometimes people provide patches, which is super awesome. Sometimes this is a thing I wanted for me.
Right.
I think ADSB and AMR kind of came out of that. RTL 433 integration came out of that. In that case, I'm just using the RTL 433 program and grabbing the output from that and then shoving it into the maps. For ADSB and AMR, the decoders are part of Kismet itself. But for RTL 433, it would be silly to try to duplicate all their effort for no reason when they've got such a great tool that has a regular format output. Right.
Do you think like SDR will eventually replace all these different types of adapters we have? And
no.
It's the same thing with like trying to build your own Wi-Fi receiver in SDR, right? It's like that's why right now I think there's an 802.11n for the Blade RF decoder.
That's an amazing one.
Yeah. But it took till like literally last year till it was stable.
Yeah.
And it took like 10 years for them to build, like people to build an 802.11g one.
So the Blade RF one is amazing because it's a full modem implemented in the FPGA.
Right.
So you can actually run that off a Pi. Where that one really excels is for packet crafting and transmit. If you're doing something where you need to transmit exactly the packet you want and exactly the format you want, you don't want the firmware messing with you, and you want it to hit a time slot that you control. Mm-hmm. You'll never get that if you're shoving packets into Linux and hoping they come out a USB card and hoping the driver didn't rewrite the headers, which a lot of them do, and you hope that the firmware didn't change some of the timing values in the packet, because why would any normal person change those? So the firmware just overwrites them. But so if you need all that, if you need that control, the GladeRF is absolutely amazing to be able to do that with. For receiving packets, like if you're trying to receive something you can't receive with a standard Wi-Fi card, also amazing. If you're trying to beat a $30 MediaTek card, MediaTek's probably going to be better because it only has to focus on one frequency, and it has all the anti-aliasing hardware features and hardware channel blocking and everything. In general, I kind of jokingly tell people sometimes that SDR is never the right answer, except when it's the only answer. Like if someone is making an ASIC that decodes that, or if you can use something like the Yardstick that needs no processing power hardly, and almost no USB power to run, then you're going to get the packets. You're going to have a way better time with that than you are with an RTL SDR or any other SDR. But as soon as you get into like RTL 433, where you've got 50 different little shitty devices that don't have any standard protocol that no one's making custom chips for, then holy shit, a $20 radio can decode all that. Fantastic. But like with Wi-Fi, you could spend $900 and a huge power and heat budget on a BladeRF, or you could spend $30 if all you're doing is grabbing packets.
Yeah.
Buy the $30 card. If you're doing, more advanced stuff with it, then 100% BladeRF is amazing, and that it is an open 11N modem in Verilog is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other commercial Wi-Fi stacks.
Right.
You're talking 150 grand licensing fees.
Holy shit! I didn't realize it's that much.
Well,
there's a couple for they're for a lot of times they're for Wi-Fi standards development and that kind of thing, or for 3-letter contractors type thing. But yeah, there are a couple of commercial. There are a couple of full commercial like 11N and 11AC SDR Wi-Fi stacks out there, but we'll never see them.
Right. So just pulling it back a little bit more, what are the top 5 or 3 tips for any regular Kismet user out there that, as a developer, you would say, when you're having problems, check this, or this setting is something you might want to consider?
I would say more it's on get better hardware.
I feel seen. Somebody called me out online.
The number of times people want to use a Pi Zero, and then like
Kitara.
But there's a new version out.
You using a Pi Zero and going into a city. It's like you're asking the equivalent of a late 90s computer to talk 2022 Wi-Fi.
Fair enough.
And I mean that's the only reason. Like it's a neat little piece of hardware. There's nothing, but you're asking something with basically USB 1 bandwidth to talk 2022 packet rates, and it's going to go badly.
The chat is going, leave my Pi Zero alone. Sorry, I'm low red.
Nobody likes it when I beat up on the Pi Zero, but do better.
Right. Do better.
But like we bashed on the 8812s already, and that's another common pain point where someone is like, oh, I got this card and it doesn't work. These drivers don't build. These drivers don't work. Well, I hate to tell someone's like, hey, you just spent $20. Now you got to go spend another 35 or 40. But
I think it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
In theory it sounds nice, but once you start running it, it's just like it takes like 3 days to compile, and then you compile it and it will capture maybe 2, because it will quickly run out of things,
Yeah. Like a Pi 4 can hold its own. The Pi 4 has, way better storage.
I'm running my rigs in Pi 4.
Yeah.
Too bad they're like $300 now, but
everything's on Obtainium now.
Dude,
but the Pi 3 works, but it's still got the older USB. That's nowhere near as
that old USB is crap.
Yeah, and that really it hurts everything because it hurts your being able to get packets off the radio in the first place, and then if you're logging to a USB drive, it hurts you on your data output the same way. But yeah, the Pi 4 can get out of its own way. It all kind of depends the environment you're targeting too. If you're just, messing around, not in the middle of Manhattan or whatever, you can get away with a lot more than if you're, at a conference or a convention, or you're in a really busy urban area and you're trying to deal with seeing, 500 access points from one spot plus however many clients. You're just gonna crush smaller hardware.
Yeah, I ran the new release last night here, 17 hours and like 47,000 devices. So I'm in a crowded area.
Yeah, you are.
I think there's some comments here. Ark says phone is already better GPS than whatever you plan to plug into the port. Agreed.
Although
Look for the win. Look for the win. CM4 looks good. I know there's a CM4 board coming out that has 8 USB 3 ports. I'm looking forward on that one, on how it's working on that. Neighborhood Brack says Kismet clustering, yay or nay?
Depends what you mean by that. So you can do 2 different things. You can either do distributed packet capture shoved over Ethernet to one central server aggregating it, which is what the Wi-Fi Cactus
right?
Is what the Cactus did on a backpack, or it's what you can do, spread out over a building, and then you can track signal from different capture sources throughout the building. Or you can, so if you have a lot of bandwidth, if you have a lot of wired bandwidth, that's probably the easiest way to do it. If you don't have a lot of Wi-Fi bandwidth, then you can do, or a lot of wired bandwidth rather, then you can do multiple Kismet servers, each one with, you can set the logging to throw things away after a certain number of hours or whatever. So you can set them up so that they have, logs are, the database logs only kept in RAM, and it throws packets away after 24 hours or whatever. And it just keeps recycling that. And then you can talk to the REST API and pull all the devices it's seen off it from that way. And you can do things like for every alert, pull packets for 5 minutes before and after the alert, and things like that. You can pull it from distributed full servers that way, or distributed capture to one server the other way.
Right.
We did have another comment coming in from the chat, this top secret chat. Kim says it's pretty dope how we jump in chat with you on the Kismet Discord, and we have discussions about like, oh shit, it would be nice to have this or that, and then literally within a few hours you're like, oh, go check this, go check this commit. And then it's like, I pull it down, it's like, oh my god, how did you do that in like 2 hours? You're a genius!
It all depends on the request.
So I just want to say, and on behalf of Kim, like a huge thank you, because
the Cactus
Project would not have ever happened without you, 1,000%. Like,
thank you.
Literally, like, it would have never happened because you were like in the very early throes of like this whole idea of remote connections, and it's like, oh hey, I want to do this, and you're like, okay, cool, let's jump on board and go to town, and it worked out flawless. I remember chatting at Shmoo about it. Yeah, it was flawless. It was. Amazing.
I am a very offender of that problem. Is that one night I was like, hey Dragon, you know what'd be kind of cool if you could talk to other tools outside of Kismet, you know? And Dragon is like a day later is like, yeah, I threw everything away and rewrote the whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what I meant. It was just a chat. It was just a comment. I'd be like, you know.
It all depends on the so sometimes sometimes requests fit perfectly with what the framework already has in it. So if it's, you know, sometimes it's easy to solve things.
Right.
Other times it's less easy.
Yeah, Ark says Dragorn is an amazing community maintainer for sure.
Oh,
for sure. And everybody really, I'm pretty sure that yeah, Steve Dave goes, agreed. Dragon got Kismet running on my big Indian arm, $64 just because I asked him to. So we really appreciate. I know you're in the middle of nowhere and you really get to see other people around your neighborhood, but you have our love from the community and users. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. You know, it's good to have a positive impact on things.
Look, you know what I mean, and everybody, you know, go support Dragorn. It's already late because somebody fucking forgot we had a stream today.
I know. I so sorely apologize.
I don't want to cut in more time over you.
Yeah, I sincerely appreciate you, man, for all you've done for me, for Taro, for community. You are a gem. You are what you've done for us is epic. It's epic.
Right.
Well, thank you. But also, if people weren't interested in using it, then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, hey, you know, we all try to spread the word out, and you know, and a lot of people, when I say I run Kismet, people are like, "Oh, I used to run that." It's like, yeah, but have you run the latest one? They're like, "No." I'm like, go run it, because it's a different beast.
It will change your life.
Your life, yes. I have a couple announcements I need to make. One, Strace is streaming on Twitch. Go check her out. And also, hold on, let me queue up this thing if I got everything correct. Oh, yeah. DNS Princess' birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Princess.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. So everybody go say hi, celebrate DNS Princess' birthday coming up. Neighborhood Brack says, I wouldn't have gotten into wardriving bug without Kismet. So everybody says in the chats, says thank you. Promise us that next big release, you come on again and talk about it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, I hope everybody in the chat looking into the stream today, it was worth the wait. We got us a unicorn. Dragorn in the chat. Dragorn, you have the mic. Any last messages to all the Wiggle fans out there?
You mean Kismet fans?
Kismet fans out there. Sorry. Excitement caught me.
You know, thanks everyone for using it and keeping interest in it. And yeah. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Also, you've got the donations. People can donate to you on the GitHub, right? And then you've also got the ability, like you've got some things you make, right? You do some 3D.
Oh yeah, the Tindy.
Yeah,
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put the Tindy in there. And then, you know, just spread the word of Wi-Fi, well, not wireless, of all the wireless, not just Wi-Fi, by telling all your friends to go use Kismet. So,
yeah, jump into Discord.
And all your friends go, huh?
Or install it for them and be like, hey, let's figure out what these creepy devices are doing.
All right. Anyway,
all right. With all
sorry
that,
everybody we're late.
Sorry
Thank
again.
you for tuning in.
I apologize. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dragorn, for being here.
Thanks everybody in the chat.
We love all of you.
And
we will see you next week? Question mark. Yeah, we'll probably be back to our normal time, Tuesday. Hopefully. Yeah, we love your faces.
All right, let's outro today is a non. I know we won't get DMC for this one. Maybe we will. Okay.
Drink all the booze.
Yeah.
Drink all the booze. Hack all the things. Drink all the booze. Hack all the things. Got this fucking Red Bull. They still give me wings.
Later, everybody. We love your faces. Peace.